Hi everyone. So I was banned on Facebook just temporarily, but this is the first time this ever happened to me. And the reason it happened is because I was spreading hate speech. So how did this happen? How did I spiral down and become an intolerant bigot, hate speeching, hate preaching, racist or whatever? Well, it all started with me joining various Facebook groups by Muslims. And my original intention, and it still actually is my intention, was pretty benign. I just wanted to talk with Muslims directly, see what they're saying themselves. Because nowadays you hear there's so many stories you're hearing in the press and stuff, and then you have all those all those stupid alt-right guys who are painting all Muslims as evil invaders and raping little children and whatever, and I know that's not true, and it is not true. And it's terrible kind of propaganda. But people are uninformed. Many people, especially where I live, many people have no contact with Muslims. Many people don't know what Muslims are really about, what Islam is about. They don't know anything. So, I wanted to get into a dialogue with Muslims themselves and hear their perspective from them directly. So I joined many Muslim Facebook, many Muslim and Islam Facebook groups, and just like with any group of people, you have good people, you have bad people, like in any group of people, But overall, they were really friendly, and I made a lot of great friends, and it was really a positive environment overall, with a few exceptions, of course. And, well, one of those exceptions was that there was like this one guy. Well, I think actually it wasn't just one guy. It was several guys, actually. They were always posting all those videos by the Nation of Islam, by Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam. And, he was... he did what he always does, He attacked Christianity, he attacked other religions, he attacked other races, It sounds like, Nation of Islam sounds like, oh, it's an Islamic religion. But, well, it kind of is, but it's actually classified as a hate group, according to Wikipedia. And no other Muslims in the world recognize them, So they're really not. Well, they themselves say that they are Muslims, and they call themselves Nation of Islam, but no other Muslim in the world recognizes them as being Muslim, because, like I said, they're not really about religion and about faith. They're more about, like I said, they were classified as a hate group. So, and Louis Farrakhan, he's actually, it's even mentioned on Wikipedia, he's affectionately called the Black Hitler. And his response to that was actually to praise Hitler. So you can see, lovable guy, and the reason for this is because he constantly attacks other religions, constantly attacks other races. Wikipedia calls him describes him as a black supremacist, as a nationalist, an anti-Semite, a racist, and he teaches that white people would be inferior, and he actually demonizes the entire white race, saying that the white race would be a race of devils. So he actually, devils or demons, so he literally demonizes them. Well, he says the entire white race is a race of devils, created by an evil black scientist, many millennia ago. And he also, advocates for segregation and all the bad stuff. So describing him as the Black Hitler really isn't too far off. And one of the other comments was actually one of the other people who left a comment on the video that he was actually, one of the other commentators was actually calling him that as well. Well, I didn't call him that. I wouldn't call him the Black Hitler. It's just other people call him that. So you can see, lovable guy. So anyway, some people just kept posting videos from that lovable Black Hitler guy, and so I left this comment here, in response to one of the many videos posted there by Louis Farrakhan. And as you can see, my intention was basically to point out, his obvious racism, and the entire hypocrisy of the Nation of Islam, and that's actually what they're called by other Muslims, hypocrites, and and of course, the videos by Farrakhan, they're fine, none of them was ever deleted. But my comment, of course, got deleted as hate speech, and I got banned for a while. And as you can see, or maybe you can see, I don't know, does it look like hate speech? I don't know, but let me explain, I think it should be obvious that I was opposing the racism, I don't think anybody would read that comment and would say, I'm supporting racism. It should be obvious that I'm opposing the racism, spread by the guy in that video. Basically I was just, criticizing the Nation of Islam for, literally demonizing the white race. And of course, he basically paints the white people as inferior and black people as superior, and he also advocates for racial segregation. But, because he says, black people would be superior, he's appealing to a lot of people in the black community. But the hypocrisy of it all is that Muhammad himself was actually white. We know this from the Muslim sources, mainly the Hadith. I'm gonna read to you a few examples, just so that you see I'm not making this up. So, for example, in Sahih Bukhari 63, it says, he made his camel kneel down in the mosque, tied his foreleg, and then said, "Who amongst you is Muhammad?" At that time, the Prophet was sitting among us, leaning on his arm. We replied, "This white man reclining on his arm." Sahih Muslim 2343. I saw the messenger of Allah with a white complexion and some white hairs. Sahih Muslim 43. I said to him, "Did you see the messenger of Allah?" He said, "Yes, he was white with an elegant face." And there were a few other, a few other sources, few other examples, a lot of them actually. It goes on, the whiteness of his shines, the whiteness of I can't even pronounce that. The whiteness of his stomach, the whiteness of his armpits, the whiteness of his cheeks, the whiteness of his whatever. So anyway, it's pretty obvious from the Muslim sources that Muhammad was pretty white. So, but why is that important? Well, because he also owned black slaves. So, for example, in Sahih Bukhari 7263, it says, I went to the house of the Prophet, and behold, Allah's messenger was staying in a mashruba, attic room, and a black slave of Allah's messenger was at the top of its stairs. Sahih Bukhari 6161. Allah's messenger was on a journey and he had a black slave called Anyasha, and he was driving the camels very fast, and there were women riding on those camels. And here's another source, says, the man from, it's difficult for me to pronounce that, who was called Wifat Said, gave the messenger of Allah a black slave who was called Midam. And there are some other sources here, and there's also this one source that mentions that Muhammad called Africans raisin-like, so yeah, as you can see, well, anyway, he was white and he had black slaves. And this is kind of important because, as you can see, there is a bit of a contradiction here, well, at least for the Nation of Islam. Because, like I said, the Nation of Islam is actually, they preach to black people saying that, yeah, you're being oppressed by white people, and Christianity is the evil religion of the white man, and so you should join Islam because, well, not really Islam, but you should join the Nation of Islam, our version of Islam that actually isn't Islam at all. Yeah, because that's the true religion for the black man. Yeah, founded by a white guy with black slaves. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So I was just, trying to point out the hypocrisy there, and I was criticizing, basically, yes, I was criticizing the ownership of black slaves. Yes, I was. Is that wrong? Does that make it hate speech? I don't think so. It doesn't matter who's owning the black slaves, what white guy it is. I think it is always wrong, okay? And I stand to that. And I don't know. I wasn't aware that makes it hate speech. Apparently, according to Facebook logic, it does. And, the Nation of Islam even goes so far as, like I said, they advocate racial segregation. So it's absolutely not allowed, for example, to marry a white woman or a white man in the Nation of Islam. That's absolutely not allowed. Yet, however, so it's only black people. It basically, the Nation of Islam. Why is it called the Nation of Islam? Basically because it advocates segregation on a national level, on a state level. It calls. That's why it's called the Nation of Islam, because they're calling for their own state, for their own country, and then in their own country only black people would be allowed. In the whole country, only black people. That's basically what they're advocating for, and that's why they're calling themselves the Nation of Islam, because they're advocating for their own nation, and then advocating practicing racial segregation on a national level. So if you are white, then you wouldn't even be allowed in their country. However, their own founder, Wallace D. Ford, well, he was actually white. Well, there are some conflicting accounts to that. Well, obviously he was an Arab, but as you can see with the example with Muhammad, there are white Arabs, and no one has ever seen a photo of him. And why would you not have one single photo of him? Well, because there are conflicting accounts, and a lot of people who saw him say that he was white. So of course, if he was actually black, they could just show a photo of him, and disprove that. But they don't show any photo of him. Why not? Why not? Well, probably, maybe because he was white. Like I said, there were actually a lot of white Arabs. and he definitely, there are very few, black Arabs that are really black, except those who were Muhammad's slaves, perhaps. So anyway, by most accounts, the founder of the Nation of Islam was actually a white Arab. And on top of that, and that's something that's absolutely forbidden in mainstream Islam, on top of that, they don't just regard their founder as their founder, but they regard their founder as Allah himself. And that's something that's absolutely not allowed in Islam, for someone to just, go ahead and claim that he is Allah. That's considered very blasphemous in Islam. So anyway, I wanted to point out the hypocrisy of all that. And yes, I was criticizing them for their racism. And if you want, you can also say maybe that I was even criticizing Muhammad for being a white guy who owned black slaves. Okay, well, he's Muhammad, he's revered by many people, but I think it doesn't matter who you are, even if you would be a black guy who owns white slaves, that's wrong, and it doesn't matter what status you have, and it's still wrong, and especially if you are actually a white guy owning black slaves, that's definitely wrong. And why can't I say that, why can't I say that slavery is wrong? Why does that make it hate speech if I oppose slavery? If I oppose racism? Why is that hate speech? It doesn't make sense to me. So if the Nation of Islam spreads hundreds of videos on Facebook attacking Christianity and attacking other religions, then that's not hate speech. And if the Nation of Islam advocates racial superiority and advocates the inferiority of other races, and even literally demonizes other races, literally demonizes them, by actually saying that they would be actual demons, then that's not hate speech, at least according to Facebook. And if Muhammad, as a white guy, owned black slaves, then that's apparently also fine. But if you criticize any of that, then that's hate speech, at least according to Facebook. And just like the notice on Facebook said, this is indeed a policy of Facebook that I was indeed not aware of. I did indeed not expect that, and I indeed did not expect, Facebook to have a policy like that. Now, of course, there are three possible explanations for why Facebook does have that attitude and is behaving that way. One possible explanation could be that Facebook is, after all, an American company, and in my country, the U.S. is always being demonized because they used to have slavery and stuff like that, and saying that there would still be many people in the southern part of the U.S. That would still continue to advocate slavery, and that slavery would just be kind of the tradition in America. I don't know if that's actually true. I don't think that's actually I don't think that's true anymore. But what I've been told about America, and I always thought, maybe that's just a prejudice. And that in reality, it's not like that anymore. But I don't know. Maybe there really are still many Americans who support slavery. I don't know. And since Facebook is an American company, and on top of that seems to be run almost exclusively by white Americans, So maybe they made it Facebook's policy that you must not criticize slavery. I don't know. It just might be one possible explanation for their actions here. But, even I myself think maybe that's a little far-fetched. I don't want to think that. So another explanation would be that Facebook too condemns slavery and condemns racism, but maybe only if it's racism and slavery by white people who are Christians against black people who are Muslims, and not if it is racism by black people against white people, and not if it is slavery by white people against black people if the white people are Muslims. And if you criticize that kind of slavery and racism, then you are the one who is spreading hate speech. And of course, the third explanation, and in my case, in my opinion, the most likely explanation would be that this was not a decision by a human at all. Because, I like to think that Facebook isn't like that. That they really have good intentions, that they're not supporting racism and suppressing anyone who's criticizing racism. I don't want to believe that, and I also don't want to believe that certain types of racism would be okay with Facebook. I don't want to believe that either, because actually it's the exact same. You think, oh well, but advocating that black people are better than white people, that's okay. No, that's not okay. That's not even okay if you really think that. Why? Because that is exactly hate speech. It promotes hate on both sides. Don't you get it? If you say black people are better than white people, you're not only inciting hatred in black people, but you're also inciting hatred in white people against black people. You're fueling the white supremacists. That's exactly what they need. That's exactly what fuels them. Yeah, so they can go around and spread hate, and they can justify their violence against black people, because then they can go and say, well, but we are the victims. Look, it's not black people who are oppressed, it's white people who are oppressed. Of course, that's total bullshit. That's not the case at all, but that's just what I'm trying to get at. Any kind of supremacist thinking is wrong, because it always fools both sides. That's my definition of hate speech, and that's why I think hate speech, no matter demonizing another group, is always wrong, and it's even wrong if white people are demonized, because that also fuels the white supremacists and entices them to commit acts of violence. And it really is like that. But of course, that's not Facebook's definition. But like I said, I don't want to believe that they're doing this intentionally and that they're intentionally fueling hatred. I don't want to think that. I don't want to think that someone has actually really looked at what I'm saying here. You know what I think? Maybe no one has looked at it at all. I'm starting to think that that decision wasn't even made by a human at all. I think that decision was just made by their algorithm. It looks for certain keywords, like, I don't know, Nation of Islam or racism or keywords like that. And then when it finds those keywords in a post, the post gets deleted and the user gets banned automatically by the algorithm. And of course, the obvious problem there is that the algorithm, it only looks for keywords, like racism, but it cannot tell in what context the keywords are. It thinks that if you have the keyword racism in your post, then it thinks, oh yeah, well, you must be advocating racism. It can't tell the context at all. That's what I think what is truly happening. So it's not like the white supremacists claim at all. There is no big conspiracy. It's just that the algorithm of Facebook is more stupid than a 4-year-old. A 4-year-old would be better at recognizing context. And that's probably also why all of this happened in the first place. This is probably why like I said, I was in those Muslim groups, and it seemed to me that all the posts were posts by the Nation of Islam inciting hatred against other races. That's what it seemed to me, because that's what Facebook kept showing me. But I don't think that's actually the case. Now if I look back at what they posted, most of it wasn't by the Nation of Islam at all. Most of it wasn't promoting racism at all. It's just that Facebook kept showing me those posts. Even though I don't want to see those posts at all, but still Facebook kept showing me that. Why? Well, I'm just guessing here, but the only reason I can think of is that the comment that got me banned wasn't actually the first comment I gave on those videos. It was the second comment. The first comment was right on the first video of Farrakhan that Facebook showed me, and then Facebook must have thought, oh, you commented on this video, so you must like the Nation of Islam and you must like Farrakhan, so I'm gonna show you more racism by Farrakhan, not being able to tell that my comment was of course negative and that I was of course condemning Farrakhan for his racism. But Facebook wasn't able to tell that at all. It just thought, oh, well, you commented on this video. You must like this video. Now I will keep showing you videos like that. Ugh. But of course, I'm not trying to attack Facebook here. Google has a very similar algorithm, and Google has very similar issues. And my prediction is actually that this video here is gonna get banned as well, because Google can recognize speech. They can do that for a very long time. So they're scanning the video for what you say, and then when Google scans my video here, again it will trigger a lot of keywords like racism, racial superiority, whatnot. So my guess is Google will ban that video as well, because Google is just as bad at telling context as the Facebook algorithm is. And now I even criticized Google. So I'd say that the chances are pretty high that this video gets deleted, or maybe they will even delete my entire account. That's also the reason why my videos aren't monetized. Because there wouldn't be much sense in it anyway. Because I always have keywords like that. Not because I advocate racism, but because I keep talking against racism, and I like to do that. I don't think there's anything wrong with me opposing racism, but of course if you oppose racism, then you kind of have to mention the word racism. So and Google isn't able to tell the context. And like I said, I also oppose slavery. And I think it's wrong. Whoever gets enslaved under whatever circumstances, and no matter the color of his skin, it's always wrong. Enslaving humans is always wrong, of course. But the algorithms aren't able to understand what I'm saying, so they probably delete it. So actually, I have a kind of sinister theory here. You could say, well, a lot of people, suppose that wouldn't be an algorithm. Suppose Facebook and Google it wouldn't be an algorithm who does all that. Suppose it would be an actual human, Suppose it would be an actual human who has all that power, who controls what you see, who controls what posts get deleted, who controls what videos get deleted, who controls all that, and who controls what videos will be shown and what videos will not be shown. If you gave that kind of power to a human, globally, like the algorithm has, everybody, give it to a politician or someone, everybody would say, well, that's too much power for any person. But since it's an algorithm, I think that actually makes it worse. But in the mind of a lot of people, it kind of excuses it, So if my video gets deleted, if my account gets banned, if my posts get deleted, even though I was speaking out against racism, and it's obvious that I was, if it would have been a human who banned me, then people might get angry and say, well, that wasn't right of that wasn't right of Facebook to do. Why are they banning someone for opposing racism? But if it was an algorithm who does that, it kind of excuses it, and people say, well, they didn't do that intentionally, it was just the algorithm isn't perfect, and they're kind of fine with that, and they're kind of fine with the algorithm starting to control their lives and starting to have control over them. If there is one kind of slavery that I support, then it's the slavery, the master-slave relationship between humans and computers. At least that's how it used to be. It used to be that computers and were created to serve people. And even if I say that now, some people already go and say, wow, what are you doing, treating a machine like a machine. Yes, I'm treating a machine like a machine because it is a machine. And it should be treated like a machine. And you shouldn't go and have sentiments and say, but the poor machine, the poor algorithm, we're giving this machine power over our lives. It makes decisions for us. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Every time I speak with other YouTubers, because of course other YouTubers, of course they're monetizing their videos, so they're sitting there all day racking their brains, thinking of what content they can make that the algorithm will like. Do you like clickbait? I don't like clickbait. You don't like clickbait. I don't think anyone likes clickbait. But everybody does it. Why? Because the algorithm likes it. And if you look at the big YouTubers, their content gets more and more boring, They don't dare to mention anything in their videos anymore, for fear of getting automatically deleted by the algorithm, or at least getting devalued by the algorithm, and maybe the video doesn't get deleted, but if the algorithm doesn't like what you're saying, it just won't show it to anybody. So all those YouTubers all day long, they think about what they can do to please the almighty algorithm. Instead of them controlling the machine has started to control them. You can also see that, with this augmented reality crap that's, on all the apps nowadays. The computer, the app tells you where to go. It's not like you say, oh, I want to go to this and that place, and maybe the app tells you how to get there. No, the app tells you where the app wants you to go, and then you go there like an obedient slave. And every time you go to any of the big websites, every time you go to YouTube, to Facebook, to any of the big websites, It's not like you go there and then you decide what you want to see. No, you go there and then the algorithm decides what it thinks you should see, and then it will show you only those things that it wants you to see. You have less and less control. Okay, maybe it's not at the point yet that you have no control at all. You still have a tiny little bit of control if you put in a lot of effort, but if it goes on like that, probably, I don't know, in the future it will decide everything for you, and that's not at all how I think it's supposed to be, and that's not the way it was. Not too long ago, it didn't matter what computer it was, and it didn't matter what kind of operating system it was. Computer screens, computer operating systems all looked the same. It all consisted of a blank screen with a cursor, and there was nothing on the screen. It was just a cursor. It was just the command screen, and that was the entire interface. There was nothing but the command screen, and there was nothing on the command screen if you didn't type anything. So there was only the command screen, and all you could do was just type in any command you wanted, and the computer would just execute that command, and that's it. He would just, you gave the command, and the computer would just do it. No questions asked, and it wouldn't go and say, well, don't you rather want to see that? We make more money if you choose the other option. It didn't do any of that shit. It didn't try to influence you. You made the decisions, and the computer just did what you wanted to do without trying to influence you. And now it's more and more becoming like the computer is telling you what to do instead of you telling the computer what